With the utmost reluctance and with infinite regret, His Majesty's government has been compelled to put this country in a state of war with what for many years, and indeed generations, has been a friendly power. Let the committee observe these words. This war has been forced upon us. What is it that we are fighting for? Everyone knows, and no one knows better than this government, the terrible, incalculable, suffering, economic, social, personal, and political, which war, and especially a war between the great powers of the world, must entail. There is no man amongst us, sitting on this bench in these trying times, more trying perhaps than any statesman for 100 years has had to pass through. There is not a man amongst us who has not, during the whole of that time, had clearly before his vision the almost uncalculable suffering which war, even in a just cause, must bring about, not only to the people who are for the moment living in this country and in the other countries of the world, but to posterity and to the whole prospects of European civilization. Every step we take with that vision before our eyes, and with a sense of responsibility which is impossible to describe. Unhappily, if in spite of all our efforts to keep the peace, and with the full and overpowering consciousness of the result, if the issue be decided in favor of war, we have nevertheless thought it to be the duty as well as the interest of this country to go to war. The House may well be assured it was because we believe, and I am certain the country will believe, that we are unsheathing our sword in a just cause. If I am asked, what are we fighting for? I reply in 2 sentences. In the first place, to fulfill a solemn international obligation, an obligation which, if it had been entered into between private persons in the ordinary concerns of life, would have been regarded as an obligation not only of law, but of honor, which no self-respecting man could possibly have repudiated. I say, secondly, we are fighting to vindicate the principle which, in these days when force, material force, sometimes seems to be the dominant influence and factor in developing mankind, we are fighting to vindicate the principle that small nationalities are not to be crushed in defiance of international good faith by the arbitrary will of a strong and overmastering power. I do not believe any nation ever entered into a great controversy, and this is one of the greatest history will ever know, with a clearer conscience and a stronger conviction that it is fighting not for aggression, not for the maintenance even of its own selfish interests, but that it is fighting in defense of principles, the maintenance of which is vital to the civilization of the world. With full conviction, not only of the wisdom and justice, but of the obligation which lay upon us, challenge this great issue. We are entering into this struggle.
Oi! Why were you here again? Some Germans don't get lonely, right?
What is war? Ask the young men who fight, men who defend the right. Ask them, what is war? Honor or death, that is war, say the young men. And what is war? Ask of the women who weep, mourning for those who sleep. Ask them, what is war? Sorrow and grief, that is war, say the women. And what is war? By ways beyond our ken, God tries the souls of men, sends retribution just, punishing vice and lust. God's wrath for sin, that is war. Lee Harris, Section 2, 3rd Platoon B Company, the 13th Battalion Kensington Regiment, on this December 24th, 1914, the Western Front.
Look lively, lads. Corporal, I want you to keep a keen eye on that leftmost salient. Jerry's been awfully quiet lately.
Too right, Sergeant. Nothing worse than nest full of Germans all playing mum's a word.
Spot on them, sir.
Cobb, what are you doing?
Oh, that's my experiment, Sarge.
Been at it all day, yes, sir.
You see, I take me a bit of the boom boom powder, right? Shove it in this old jam tin with a lot of nicky knacks.
It's bits of shrapnel, sir. It's really quite ingenious.
I set a fuse, light it.
Cobb!
Well, the next step will actually be to throw it at the enemy, sir.
Yeah, don't worry, sir. We already ate all the jam.
So what do you think, sir? It's a whole mess of a lot safer than their unreliable handy bombs, yeah?
Cobb.
Sergeant.
Latrine duty.
Again, but
Crispy, you can join him. And I want those holes dug so deep I can see China when I'm squatting.
Those poor Chinese.
Dismissed!
I told you to give a test before we went off showing the sergeant.
You didn't wait for the final instruction.
You ate all his jam.